nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Have a seat. Roll call.
Holcomb.
Here.
Nikki. Here. Sarah.
Here.
Phillips. Here. Mike.
Here.
John.
Here.
Paige. Here. Lemmings.
Here.
Bass.
Here.
Thank you. Next is our agenda items. To approve the agenda, I would entertain a motion to run the cleanup ordinance by title only.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to entertain the cleanup ordinance by title only. Any discussion on that change? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Does anyone else have any changes they'd like to see on the agenda? Okay, so roll call vote for the agenda as presented with reading the cleanup ordinance by title only.
Holcomb.
Yes.
Nikki.
Yes.
Sarah.
Yes.
Phillips.
Yes.
Mike.
Yes.
John.
Yes.
Paige.
Yes.
Lemmings.
Yes.
Bass.
Yes.
Okay, you have before you copies of the minutes, financials, and the treasurer's report. Do I hear a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Have a motion and a second to approve the minutes, financials, and treasurer's report. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Having no county judges' comments, are there any elected officials that would like to, or department heads that would like to address the court? Or court, do you have any questions for any department heads? Yes, ma'am. Can you come up to the microphone?
Van County Library. Anyway, stolen glasses are available for free at the library, so just stop by and pick them up. And they are the official bona-fide glasses.
Awesome. Thank you.
Oh, wow. Talking about that.
Any other questions back or forth? Okay. Any public comments at this time? No, none. Up next is a discussion on the Eclipse. Now, what I was really wanting to discuss is I want to hear your guys' feedback. I've kind of kicked this can because I think we have a duty to the county to be here for the taxpayer. I think we also have a duty to stay out of their way if we get really congested on the highways. What do y'all think we need to do on Eclipse Day? Now, other counties, and it's all over the board. Of course, you know, your emergency personnel are all hands on deck. Most counties have their road crew counted in that emergency personnel. So basically what we're talking about is office personnel. Should they be here? What do you think? Do you think they should be here? Do you think they should not be here? Do you think it should depend a lot on weather? What kind of weather? Either way. Should we try to work a half a day and get out of here before the crowds break loose?
No,
I just want to hear what y'all think.
I don't think so. I think it ought to be a day off. Simply because getting around. I've planned for myself around Eclipse Day. I don't plan to go anywhere.
And school's out too, right?
It is.
Yeah. I have no idea. We may have 10 people that come. But I'm going to be prepared to stay home. And I think with them, there should be too.
Are there any due dates or anything around that time that people would normally come in?
No, our books open March 1, so we're not many.
And it's already started slowing down for taxes.
I personally have let my employees off for that reason. I didn't want them to have to travel if it gets bad.
Right.
And that, I agree with Mary for that reason.
And most everybody's kids are gonna be home. So
Sure.
for sure.
You know, we're given emergency powers to be able to shut the building down or shut the offices down for emergency purposes. We have so much time leading up to this. I just felt like I should include you guys before I just unilaterally made that decision.
So we start getting all the calls, you want them telling that we are being declared. Gotcha, man. Thanks.
No. I just didn't want to.
I tried to
It's-
assess
it-
my cook.
No, I understand.
If we know this is happening 7 years out, it's really, doesn't really qualify as an emergency, so.
I do think, sorry, Judge, the judge should be available.
Yes, I agree.
Maybe not for office duties, but obviously.
Oh, yeah.
Well, if we run into, we need to be available to help you do something, you need to
Yeah.
let us know. I mean, if I'm willing to help you if we can.
I don't think there's gonna be much in that regard.
I think in the court realm, you've got people filing things that would be a deadline, like if they had a deadline. But with eFlex now, as long as they submit it
That's right.
and it's not rejected, it'll still file the right day. So,
Yeah, that's a good point. It timestamps when they file it, so.
yeah, as long as they don't reject it. So I think you just have to be aware, don't reject. Anyways, that's a detail, but
Is there any grace on that? Adam, forgive my ignorance.
No, not really. But to Nikki's point, now that we're in e-filing, when it gets submitted, it shows the judge the date that it was. So if I file something at 9 o'clock at night, it.
because like you
reflects
have a lot
that
of
time.
deadlines, like you have to respond in 30 days, and if that's a deadline day, people are scrambling, I got to get this filed. If the courthouse used to wasn't open, that's a big problem because they can't get it filed. Now you have eFlex, you submit it, and as long as they don't reject it for some reason, and then you have to resubmit it, your filing date will be right. So I was just thinking that through. But
And if you'll make the decision to close and they know ahead of time, it's kind of like any other holiday, you know that the clerk's office isn't going to be open.
that's true. Yeah, and we can notify
New Year's
people of
Day,
that.
Christmas Day. or
You need to get it
something.
in a day before.
So I think to get, put that out there would be.
I appreciate you letting us give our opinion.
You bet.
Yeah, appreciate that.
I think as we get closer and see what the weather's gonna be, that's gonna determine how much people's here. That's gonna, if it's cloudy in Texas, they're gonna be here, everybody's gonna be here. And if they're not, maybe, so that'll make a whole difference in how many influx of people we have to deal with.
We should know by Monday, we should have a 14-day forecast, so we'll have a good.
They change it every
That's
day. Go through a
Arkansas.
line of people.
That's the only people that can be bad at their job and still get paid.
That's right, paid for line.
Does the decision need to be made? This is the last meeting before, I guess.
Yeah.
Is that fluid at all? Based on weather, or we're not going to meet again.
No, I think go
Not
ahead
the
and.
judge's discretion. I mean,
I think the elected officials, do you guys have any reason that you can think of?
I would hate for people to get stranded on the road trying to get somewhere.
Right.
I mean,
We need the 911 people there. You guys can't take off.
Oh, yeah, sorry.
Oh, she knows.
They may be using the bunks.
Randy, do you have a comment?
Yes, I do. This is not entirely in my wheel, but the transfer station. I've got a driver that drives back and forth tomorrow twice, 3 times a day. I don't think he needs to be on the road.
That's a question yeah. So,
That's another facet that,
we'll, yes, sir.
can I add something to what he just said? We have, at the transfer station, we were given 2 options from Malt, and they will either open at 5 in the morning and close at 10, or they will be closed altogether. I have interviewed each and every hauler that we have coming in out there, and they're going to take off that day because the traffic alone is not going to allow them to stop going down the road to pick up trash. And that's certainly up to you, but
Right,
that's where we're at back there.
that's really the comment. I didn't finish a while ago after Randy spoke, but I wouldn't shut that down without including the haulers in that decision, so. They're the ones whose livelihood depends on it.
If we're gonna shut them down, I can use the help.
So,
also, this would be a paid holiday, correct? They shouldn't be penalized for the sun.
all right. So, y'all want me just to go ahead and call it?
I think you should, to help people with the child care situation.
Gotcha. Okay, so we'll be closed Eclipse Day. County offices. Good enough. All right. Next is new business, and like several of our ordinances, our first one is sponsored by John Bradford.
Be it enacted by the Quorum Court of the County of Van Buren, State of Arkansas, an appropriation ordinance to be entitled, an appropriation ordinance to amend the original appropriation ordinance 0-2023-54, the annual operating budget for 2024, to increase the projected revenue and appropriate $5,041.86 into the County Road Fund 2000-200. Whereas the Van Buren County Road Department has received a reimbursement check from Klausmeyer Construction Company, Incorporated, for damages incurred to Watson Road from the recent installation of fiber optic cable, and whereas there is a need to appropriate the funds into line item 2000-200-9,999 to use as needed. Now therefore be it ordained by the Quorum Court of Van Buren County, Arkansas, that the sum of $5,041.86 shall hereby be appropriated into the County Road Fund 2000-0200-9,999 transfers out. I move we approve this ordinance.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to adopt this ordinance. Any discussion? Roll call vote.
Holcomb.
Yes.
Nikki.
Yes.
Sarah.
Yes.
Phillips.
Yes.
Mike.
Yes.
John.
Yes.
Paige.
Yes.
Lemmings.
Yes.
Bass.
Yes.
O 2024-08.
Thank you. Okay. Our next one is sponsored by Justice Sarah Brown.
Sarah or Siri? Being enacted by the Quorum Court of the County of Van Buren, State of Arkansas, an appropriation ordinance to be entitled, an appropriation ordinance to amend the original appropriation ordinance number O-2023-54, the annual operating budget for 2024, to increase the revenues and appropriate $34,757.33 into the Van Buren County Sheriff's Office budget line item 1000-400. Whereas the Van Buren County Sheriff's Office has received an insurance check for a 2020 Ram 1500 pickup from the Association of Arkansas Counties for $24,757.33. And whereas the Van Buren County Sheriff's Office has also received a $10,000 check from the Van Buren County Road Department for the sale of a 2018 Chevy Silverado. And whereas the total of these checks will need to be appropriated into the Sheriff's Office budget. Now therefore be it ordained by the Quorum Court of Van Buren County, Arkansas, that Section 1, $34,757.33 be appropriated into line item 1000-400-4005 vehicles. I make a motion to
Second.
approve as written.
We have a motion and a second to adopt this ordinance. Any discussion? Roll call.
Holcomb.
Yes.
Nikki.
Yes.
Sarah.
Yes.
Phillips.
Yes.
Mike.
Yes.
John.
Yes.
Paige.
Yes.
Lemmings.
Yes.
Bass.
Yes.
O 2024-09.
Thank you. Our next ordinance is again sponsored by John Bradford.
Be it enacted by the Quorum Court of the County of Van Buren, State of Arkansas, an appropriation ordinance to be entitled, an appropriation ordinance to amend the original appropriation ordinance 0-2023-54, the annual operating budget for 2024, to increase revenues and appropriate $41,834.38 into the Van Buren County Road Department budget 2000-200. These monies were left off the 2024 annual operating budget for the County Road Department, and whereas will need to be appropriated. Therefore be it ordained by the Quorum Court of Van Buren County, Arkansas, that Section 1, $41,834.38 be appropriated into line 2000-200-999. I move we approve this ordinance.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to adopt this ordinance. Any discussion?
So how do we miss that on the budget? $41,000, but on.
Normally, it would be an insignificant amount, but because of the emergency we went through, we need to appropriate every penny we can. There was a difference between the amount that Nikki was given when the budget was constructed and what actually was there available. Good question. Any other questions? Roll call vote.
Holcomb,
Yes.
Nikki,
Yes.
Sarah,
Yes.
Phillips,
Yes.
Mike,
Yes.
John,
Yes.
Paige,
Yes.
Lemmings,
Yes.
Bass.
Yes.
O 2024-10.
What was the number?
10.
10.
The next ordinance is sponsored by John Bradford.
Alright. An ordinance to authorize the Van Buren County Judge to enter into an agreement with the Arkansas Department of Transportation for the purpose of accepting State Highway 337, Section 1. This is the Sugarloaf, in the Sugarloaf community, into the county road system in exchange for an economic expansion project in Conway County, Arkansas. Whereas Green Bay Packaging has requested the State Department of Transportation Department relocate Highway 113 near Uplow in Conway County, and whereas a partnership involving the removal of certain highways from the state highway system will be required to offset the anticipated cost of these locations, and whereas the Van Buren County has received a request to accept ownership of Highway 337, Section 1 as part of this partnership, and whereas upon receipt of sufficient commitments, the department will consider moving forward with a project to relocate Highway 113, and whereas the department will oversee all phases of the project, and whereas upon completion of this improvement, Van Buren County will accept ownership and responsibility of Highway 337, Section 1. Now therefore be it ordained by the Quorum Court of Van Buren County, Arkansas, that Van Buren County will participate in accordance with its designated responsibility in this project to accept Arkansas Highway 337, Section 1, which is approximately 1.7 miles in length in the Sugarloaf community, into Van Buren County road system. The county judge or their designated representative is hereby authorized and directed to execute all appropriate agreements and contracts necessary to expedite implementation of this project. Section 3, Van Buren County Judge is support and thereby that the Department of Transportation initiate action to implement these improvements. I move we accept this ordinance.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to adopt this ordinance. I'll open discussion and I'll try to lay out some pros and cons in as neutral a manner as possible. The pros is I think we have about 17 people that are employed in the county by Green Bay. This stretch of highway would qualify for state aid for future overlays or improvements. The negatives is it's a forever agreement. There's no end to it. At some point we'll need an overlay. I don't know how soon that will be. Right now the road's in pretty good shape. So
my question
turn off to y'all.
would be the annual cost to the county for maintaining the 1.7 miles. What is the annual cost?
Judge, may I speak? Sure. Good evening, Judge and Court. My name is Steve Good, and I represent Green Bay Packaging. Justice Brown, may I borrow your desk right here, just so I can rest my, sorry, that way I don't have to hold it. I visited with each and every one of you on the phone prior to tonight and talked to you about this project, and one of the things that I failed to do when I talked to most of you the first time was have that very information. And luckily I thought of that last week and tried to call most of you back today and didn't get to all of you. But I can tell you that RDOT has spent about $13,000 on that highway in the last 6 years, 5 to 6 years. So the cost is roughly about $2,000 a year what RDOT has spent on it. Now that's from Kelly Wiley. who works for RDOT, and I've got that in an email if you need to see a copy of that. So, Judge, may I have just a little bit of liberty? You know, one of the things I wanted to visit with y'all about, and you know, again, for those of you that don't know me, and I know a lot of you, I own a business here in this community. I own Goods Cash Saver, so I am your constituent in some ways. And also, I'm not just a lobbyist that's going to come in here and talk to you and you're never going to see me again. So everything I'm going to tell you, you'll be able to find me down the road at the store and say, hey, that's not what you said, or that is exactly what you said. So you'll always be able to find me going forward. But you know, one of the things that we've talked about since I bought the store in Van Buren County in 2013, consistently with county leaders like the judge, with local leaders like the mayor, is economic growth. And guys, we have and ladies, we have a fantastic opportunity here to help with economic growth. Some more information that I've got received since I talked to most of y'all is that Green Bay, this will be a $2 billion plus project. Phase 1 will be over $1 billion. By the time all 3 phases are done, it will be the largest single build in the history of the state of Arkansas. But phase 1 alone is $1 billion. Now think about that. There's only been $2 billion projects ever in the state of Arkansas, and both of those were the steel mills over in East Arkansas. Because of that, we've done some economic research, and Green Bay did a similar project in Green Bay starting before COVID in 2019 that went to about 2023, excuse me. And that project lasted a little over 5 years. And that project, there were over 600 construction workers that lasted that entire time to build that new mill up there. Now that mill was a little different. That mill was a recyclable mill. And so Green Bay, when they're at end of life here with their mill, and they've got 3 choices basically. They can shut it down and put the mill at end of life. They can go to a recyclable mill, or they can be the mill that builds the first box, because somebody with all these recyclable mills has to build the first box. But the cost of building the first box and the mill to build the first box is a substantially much more costly mill, and it takes longer to build that mill. That's why it's going to be such a long build. So here we estimate it's a 10-year build, and we estimate 1,000 construction workers. Now, some of the data that we received also said that those construction workers will migrate in from 60 miles. Randy was teasing with me earlier. He said, I want that in writing that they're going to hire Van Buren County residents because it's within that 60 miles. And the reality is they will hire some from Van Buren County because simply they're not all in Conway County. They're not all in Polk County or Faulkner County. But really the benefit that I think that we're going to get is the migratory workers that live out of their campers when they go to these big construction projects. Think about the camping spaces that private landowners have here that they built when oil and gas was booming 10 plus years ago. And so that's where I think Van Buren County is going to be in a sweet spot, because when those migratory workers move in with their campers, you know, campgrounds, Pettigene, it holds what, 50, 75 campers and it's full. Choctaw, it holds a minimum of campers and it's full. And those campsites are going to be for seasonal tourists. Those private landowner campgrounds that are here in Van Buren County that were here because of oil and gas, we're going to reap a great reward. So the economic benefit is going to be huge. The economic benefit for your neighbors and your constituents is also going to be huge, because this mill will do 2.5 to 3 times the current of what's currently going through the mill. Now, one of the things that I think I did not share with y'all, and I gave you some information sheet, and it might be on there, but Wes Ward, who is our state agriculture chairman, and Kyle Cunningham, who is our state forestry director, they say that Arkansas today is growing 40% more wood than we're harvesting, than we're currently harvesting. To the point where they say today it's a problem. Today it is a problem. Our wood basket is too large today. The reality is, if that mill shutters and goes dark over the next 5 to 10 years, we have an ecological disaster on our hands in Van Buren County. Because if you'll look at the second page of that sheet, in Van Buren County alone, we have 339,000 acres of forest land. Now again, somebody said earlier, that there's some negative that comes with forest. Sometimes they tear up roads, the log trucks. Hey, I agree. Sometimes they do. But the reality is, in Van Buren County, you know, we've got to dance with the partner that we've got. And the partner that we've got is we have 339,000 acres of forest land here in Van Buren County. The company that I represent, we own over 30,000. We manage another 15,000. But then on top of that, we buy from landowners that we don't manage for. For instance, a friend of mine recently bought an 80-acre tract that wasn't under forest management, but it was time to be harvested. And so Green Bay, their logging company, one of their contractors, is who harvested that. And it wasn't under management. So not only do we harvest the land that we own and the land that we manage, we also harvest other people's land that's not under that management as well. You know, there's a lot of good here, and the good is the economic growth. There's some bad, and the bad is simply this. And I think that resolution says, or that ordinance says 1.7 miles. RDOT's map they gave me says 1.3 miles. Again, Judge, you and Randy, y'all probably know better than me, but again, RDOT's map says 1.3 miles, so that's
We went
measure. Gotcha. So the bad is, you know, we're asking you to take in 1.7 miles of road. But the ugly is if this timber is not harvested, if we're not open. Green Bay has basically told us this. We've got a first gate we've got to get through, and the first gate is moving Highway 113. I've got an email also from Kelly Wiley last week that says if we don't have the $12 million in drop money that we need by the time the bid letting on April the 10th, they're not going to open the bids. And so I humbly come before you tonight with my hat in my hand as a constituent, as somebody who will benefit if this economic growth happens, and I think it will, but also as somebody who realizes that Van Buren County has forest land that needs to be harvested today, and this is certainly something that's going to allow it to be. And so I ask for a good vote tonight. If anybody has any other questions, I'll be happy to answer those before I yield the floor back, Judge.
Do I have any questions for Steve? Okay. Do you have any discussion?
I still have another question.
Yes, sir.
I mean, 2,000 annually seems pretty negligible. It's not a lot of money, but you're the one that can answer whether you can absorb that into your budget or not. So I mean, that's really a question for you to tell us.
Sure.
Can the $2,000 be absorbed into county road budget?
To be honest, we have more miles now than we can keep up with. That's just life. I think this last disaster kind of showed us that our budget isn't broad enough to cover what it needs to. I do envy other counties like Pulaski and Faulkner. They don't have any dirt roads anymore. They have all surface roads. A lot of counties are getting there, and I feel like we're doing more going back and redoing than we're doing anything new now. We're losing them at a rapid rate right now because a lot of our surface roads were made by gas companies, and those have deteriorated since. This road at Sugarloaf, it's in good shape right now. I don't know, since only $13,000 has been put into it in the last 8 years, what does that mean the next 8 years is going to look like? Because it hasn't had much put into it. Are the people who live on that road going to feel like they're going from state to county? Is this a retrograde action on their part? Are they getting less? Are they getting less attention than they used to? I think that's a fair question to ask.
So have you talked to those residents and so they're not aware of the exchange?
No, we would need to make them aware of that.
When would the exchange go into effect? Immediately tonight?
No, sir. So the judge would execute a signed contract with the state, and the way that I read the resolution, which was what was given to me, and Judge or Attorney Cruz, y'all may read it different, but I read that it would happen when 113 was the construction was started on 113 on the new highway.
Okay,
which we estimate that will be sometime this year.
So you made a comment about the drop money. So right. I mean, if the drop money's not there and they're not opening bids, then is this thing scratched?
Yes, sir.
So is the drop money there?
It's not currently. So, and that's one thing I didn't share. Let me, if you don't mind, I'll go back. So currently, we have Conway, Pope, Faulkner, White, and Johnson have all committed. And I think as of tonight, we're sitting at $8.6 million with those counties committed.
Okay, so how does the vote in Van Buren County affect the 12 million?
Well, so yours would be 600,000, so that would take us to 9.2 going out of tonight. Johnson County's rate has not been figured yet. We estimate it's going to be about between 600,000 and $1 million. So that would take us, I'm going to use even money, to 9.2. Saline is choosing between a section of 900,000 or 1.5 million for theirs. So let's use the conservative one. That takes us to 10.1. Cleburne has not committed to which his section yet, and Perry and Yale are still looking at their sections as well. So we would be at 10.1 if y'all agree, depending on what happened with Johnson and Saline.
So when are the other counties going to give you an answer?
Cleburne, I actually talked to Judge Crosby today, and he was still trying to decide. Saline is still trying to decide between the two because we got some faulty information from RDOT on a section that they thought they were going to take, and they ended up having to take another one. Yale and Perry, those are works in progress, so I can't tell you for sure on those, but everybody else I can tell you kind of where they are. And then Conway County, to Judge James's point earlier, Conway County will have to get us over the hump to anything that we're lacking at the end, or anything that goes over the $12 million.
So it seems to me that you might be in a little bit of a pickle.
Oh, we're in a bind, I will tell you. Yes, sir.
Because if the other counties don't take care of this in Quorum Court in March, then by the April 10th, it's not going to happen.
Well, let me say this to that, and again, this is no disrespect to Judge James. He's just chosen to handle it in a different way. Most of the judges have not involved their courts, and most of the ones that we're talking to now are not going to involve their courts. Most of them are doing it by executive order. They're not coming to their courts, and so for most, it's not going to be a quorum court meeting. Most, it's just going to be the judge signing. Matter of fact, I think so far. Matter of fact, this is the first quorum court meeting I've been to. So every other judge is just signing an executive order.
So do we have an exit clause? Can we have an exit clause if we agree and this thing doesn't pass, it stays with the state and we don't take it on?
Yeah, if the bids are not open and we don't get to the $12 million, it's not an executable contract.
Can that be added to the, I mean, I understand on your side.
Yes.
But I would like our side taken care of as well.
Well, again, the reality is if we don't get to the $12 million, they're not going to open the contracts. And so then at that point in time, like I said, then it goes from bad to ugly. And
so without the 12 million, it's end of life for.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Do you think that Conway County in the end would come up with a endless amount to?
I think that I can't speak for Judge Hart, but again, Judge Hart knows that that's in his county, and he knows that. Again, so if you look at it, y'all have 17 county residents that work for Green Bay. Again, you have 58 landowners, and you have approximately 50,000 acres. You've got a big chunk here. But the reality is, Perry County has 150 people in their county that work for Green Bay. Conway has over 250 in Conway County. So those county judges at the end, I think, are going, and Judge Hart knows he's going to have to step up. I can't speak for him, but, and Judge James said that earlier, he may have to own a little bit more. I can't speak for him, but to get to the $12 million, Justice Holcomb, that's what's going to have to happen.
Well, and one thing that Judge Hart will receive that we won't is property tax off the new construction, off the mill.
He will receive that, and so your benefit will be this. That mill will be 2x at a minimum what's currently. So currently, your property tax and your excise tax are, give me just a minute, I apologize.
36,000.
I wore the wrong glasses tonight too, so currently, yes, your property tax is $36,000 and your severance tax is $11,000. So I would estimate that your severance tax will go to at least a minimum of 2.5 times that, probably a max of closer to 3 times. The mill will only employ another 10%. Green Bay employs 600 people today. We estimate that that's only going to go to about 660. But the reason why is the new mills are so much more efficient than a 60-year-old mill is, that it will only take about 10% more people to produce about 3 times the wood fiber product. So because of that, you're going to see a 3x time growth in your severance tax guaranteed. And Judge, I can't speak to property tax, what's gonna happen. I mean, I think as your property values increase because you're harvesting more timber, I think that's gonna go up some, but I'm not a property tax expert, so I'd be lying to you to tell you on that.
So what happened?
And on the mill itself, there's a large tax that they will receive on the mill.
Yes. No, that's correct.
On the actual the building.
Yes, no, that's correct.
Because of the.
Well, but now, part of the economic package, the development packages that the state offers is a lot of that will go into an abatement. And so the county won't get it because,
It 35%.
Yeah, it'll go into an abatement that will last, until the value of the package goes away. That's part of the economic development package to incentivize them to, help build the mill. Because when you're talking about a $2 billion spend, and this is a privately held company out of Green Bay, Wisconsin, I mean, not many people can write a $2 billion check.
Yeah, so what happens to the 30,000 acres that Green Bay owns in Van Buren County if it goes to the end of life? What happens to that land?
It's an ecological disaster, quite frankly.
Well, I'm talking about will they sell it or
Who knows?
will they keep it or?
The value certainly plummets because there's no place to harvest it. There's no place to take it. And the reality is, I can see a Colorado, California type scenario where all of a sudden we've got real problems on our hand with forest fires. Again, not my math, but the state forester and the state agricultural secretary say today we are 40% over capacity of what we're producing today. And so Green Bay coming in with this solution really helps that. It reduces our wood basket to a more manageable level. But if that mill goes away, Justice Holcomb, it's a real problem. For Van Buren County, Perry County, Conway County, Yale County, Cleveland County, White County, it's a real problem.
When I spoke to Mr. Good, one of the things that I've talked about is we have, first and foremost, as JPs, we have our constituents, and that's who we answer to. But aside from that, anybody in the county, he's not in my district, but he still has my interest. He's somebody in the county. I spoke about the ripple effect, and this decision is 1.7 miles, and that's just a pebble in the water, but how far does that ripple effect go out? How many people is it going to affect? The ones that are living here, the ones that work for these people, the ones that potentially could move here because of this, and alternatively, if it doesn't happen, the ripple effect, how far does that spread? So that's something I always consider in these decisions, and I think that Mr. Holcomb is asking very good questions.
Very good questions.
But it just boils down to, honestly, like he asked in the beginning, this is your forte.
Well, and I'll help the judge a little bit, Judge, and Quorum Court members. Two things here. I'm here representing Green Bay tonight for an ask, okay? I cannot speak for them. But I can tell you there's a county today where there's been some logging issues, and they've come in and they've helped prepare a road. Now, if we ask, are we going to get the same thing here? I would hope so, and I would think so. They're looking for partners. And look, this wasn't Green Bay's idea, by the way, to come and ask y'all. This was RDOT's. And so, Green Bay's kind of put in a bad position too, because we want to build a $2 billion plus mill, but we're being told that, hey, the only way we're going to move this highway is this. I get RDOT's position. Everybody's got it, and so it's, but to the judge's point, to the $2,000 extra, if the severance tax goes up 3 times, there's going to be additional county road money to be spent. So.
I spoke with Mr. Good as well, and we kind of discussed how we had really pushed the general budget this year. I think it's going well so far. But that was a choice we made, and that in the past we have treated the road budget very differently because we're not. I don't feel like we govern that as much. County general is what we're over. I do have some questions, and Dale, I think you could probably answer these. Has this happened in the past, like 330 and 336, did we take them in? And when we did take them in, did RDOT chip and seal them before we took them in?
We took in 10 miles. We took in 330 and 336 east. The road going to the lake and the road just south of the lake. RDOT completely repaved those roads, resurfaced, restriped. and brought those roads up to a like new condition. The this for a that, the reason that was pulled in, and I was on the Quorum Court at that time, was because Highway 65 was expanding, and they didn't have the money to relocate the water lines up and down 65. So the agreement was that all the water lines in Highway 65 would be moved in exchange for the roads.
Well, I guess this is a big ask, but do you think that they would maybe chip and seal or resurface this road before we took it? And would that make a difference in being able to carry that cost? And I do not know about roads, and so, I'm just wondering, since I did hear that they completely resurfaced those, if that could make a difference in the maintenance cost. And I don't know that they would be open to that at all, or if that even makes a difference, because again, this is not my wheelhouse, but.
Well, the road's in good condition now. You really don't want to resurface a road that's in decent condition, right?
Well, they did 330 and 336.
Is the road currently asphalt or chip and seal?
It's asphalt.
Is
it chip seal?
Okay. But it's a very well set up chip seal road. It's not your typical. I mean, to be honest with you, when I first turned on it, I thought it was asphalt, but no, it's.
I'm also curious.
Yes, sir.
It seems like that RDOT has come back with this 7-8 county structure. What is what's RDOT's investment in Green Bay and the move of the highway? Because it seems like to me that would really be, they need to have some ownership of this as well as far as economic development for the state.
So through that $12 million, the AEDC authorized some funding several years back that RDOT had never taken advantage of. There are $2 million that will come through RDOT that really came from AEDC, from economic development.
So is that
so they're counting that $2 million as part of the 12.
Okay.
And they're counting that as kind of their skin in the game, along with their engineering cost and whatnot.
So if the 2 is part of the 12, then really you only got to get to 10.
No, I'm counting 12, counting the 2, and so no, I've got to get to 12, but I'm counting the 2 already. Yes, sir. Oh, I wish it was that simple, Justice Hope.
Well, me too.
Yes, sir.
But I wanted to make sure that RDOT had some skin in the game too.
Yes, sir, and it's through that. And I will say this, you all have the second most Green Bay land of any county, but we're only asking for the smallest amount of highway from y'all as we have anyone so far. And so, because I've sat in your seat, I was a Quorum Court member for 12 years in Faulkner County. I was the road chair and personnel chair for 8 of those 12. So I've sat in your seat. I know the vote. This is not a typical ask from a typical lobbyist from Little Rock. I've been in your seat. I know what I'm asking you, and I know how difficult it is. So again, we've tried to adjust for the counties that we know don't have a great road budget. Faulkner County, to be honest with you, they stepped up. They took in the most so far. I'll tell you one that I'm really proud of is Judge Herman Houston. And Judge, I know you know him. He's 2.5 counties away, but he realizes the economic value of it. And Johnson County's got quite a bit of Green Bay land there, but he will probably not receive as much he will receive some economic benefit for his citizens, but from the construction workers and everything, he's the furthest away from me, and they've stepped up. And so it's a unique ask. It's a difficult ask, but I humbly ask for a good vote. So,
As far as I'm concerned, RDOT wastes more money every year than we have in the whole budget. So it's hard to adjust a thought pattern for taking the road in when they seem to have, they got slush fund of how much money? $2 billion. But when I look at the footprint of Green Bay, and I don't know where you guys are getting your 70. I count 36 employees.
In the county?
That they have 7 working at the mill. When I did a little checking on this myself, and they have 7 working at the mill. You had all the heavy equipment operators, the loggers themselves, and then you got 58 private landowners where they maintain 15,000 acres in our county.
Yeah, so
So-
if they're contractors, we don't count them as employees, and so that may be the difference in the number. But actual Green Bay Craft Division is the 17. So yes, sir. But I'll take your number. I like it better.
Well, but I'm just know the loggers. I know Mr. Goodnight, and I know Gentry Brothers.
Yes,
I know
sir.
those guys and their employees they have.
That's right.
And then you look at the land where they do the private hunting lease. There's 478 paying members.
Yes, sir.
That come up here and hunt. They're buying food. They're buying all kinds of stuff at our county, and so the economic footprint of what they're doing, helping us out. Again, helping our dot out is not my idea of good. I don't think that's good, but I like the idea of Green Bay's footprint on our county and what they're doing. And I mean, I've sold timber to them, and we need that plan to be here. We don't need to go away. And so that's my thought.
I've talked to Mr. Good twice on the phone, and 337 is in my district. And I have tried to come up with a opinion where I think this is good for our county. I mean, it is good in a way, but there's really not any way that I can wrap my head around it where we don't get the short end of the stick. We're getting this road from now on permanently, and this $12 million is what the RDOT is asking them to move the road. Okay, this is a $2 billion project. $12 million is a drop in the hat, and they're asking us to take in, almost 2 miles of road from now on. And the people that live down that road, that now live on a state highway, are then going to live on a county road. And then I know they're not going to be happy about it. I wouldn't be happy about it if it was me. Right now, that's not a very busy road, but come June, it's going to be a very busy road. It's going to be one of the busiest small roads in the county. Because if you've never been down that road during the summer, it's busy between all the tourists and the bass tournaments and such going up and down that road. It's a busy road, and he was talking about all the camping spots the private landowners have here that were full during the gas boom, as we called it, where everybody was drilling for gas. Well, they have those camp spots because they're right down the road from where they were working. I don't think that people are going to drive 60 miles to camp here rather than find a camping spot on another private landowner's land in Conway County or closer to it. That's just my opinion. And like I said, I can't wrap my head around it where we're not getting the short end of the deal on this, and that's why I didn't sponsor the ordinance in the first place. I mean, I'm not gonna sponsor this and then go tell everybody that lives on that road that, hey, now it's a county road you live on, so you're not gonna have the pocketbook of the state behind your road anymore.
Well, that $36,000 a year they're paying in property taxes, and I know how my property taxes have gone up this last year. That's going to be more. If we're talking $2,000, what they cost to maintain that road a year.
That's just mowing.
Well, now,
that's all
the
that.
36,000, most of that goes to the school. The county actually gets about 2,000 of that.
2,000. Okay, so that pretty much covers what we
pretty much negates. I mean, it just cancels it out. So then we're on top of what maintenance they're doing now, which pretty much is just mowing. I would imagine, because there's really not that much maintenance other than mowing on that road. But when it comes time to chip and seal it again, or resurface it again, we're going to be 100% responsible for that. And it's 2 miles of road. And personally, I think we got roads in our county that could use chip and seal before we take on something that's the state's. It's just my personal opinion.
Before I forget to tell y'all, Steve came to me, or Mr. Good came to me with some other roads at first.
Sure.
And I'm like, absolutely not.
Yep.
They're just not good roads. Weren't good stretches.
Yeah, those, RDOT, yeah, to the judge's point, RDOT had given us a recommended list early on, and I brought them to the judge, and he was a pretty forceful no. And I kind of, to be honest with you, what I did, Justice Bradford, I came up and drove the county one day, and tried and drove every state highway in the county, and again, trying to put myself in y'all's seat, because I've sat in your seat before. Highway 337 was about the only one that I would ask the judge to take in, and his thought was, yeah, I could work with that if my court's for it. And so that's where we are. And so I appreciate his willingness to at least look at it, and I appreciate your willingness. And Justice Bradford, to your point, and I don't know the millage breakdown. You say you get 2,000 of that 36. Again, that will 3x time most likely. That property or that severance tax will 3x times. And so, Judge, what do you get on the severance tax side? Is it the same breakdown, or do you get more of it? I think you get more of it than you do property.
Our severance has been so minimal lately. I don't even look at it.
Well, currently sitting at 11,000, and again, I would say at a minimum it would go up 3 times, because that's what the plan is for the mill. It's 2.5 to 3 times at a minimum, more production there. So that will grow substantially, Justice Bradford.
When I speak about the ripple effect and where our priorities lie, it does start with our constituents.
Sure.
So, first and foremost, we have to take care of what we have already before we can think about the ripple effect and what we may gain from it. But if we can't take care of what we have already, or are struggling to do so, what do we do with that? And are there any guarantees in this that say that we will be able to take care of what we're already struggling to take care of?
Yeah, and I mean, I can't guarantee you, I can't sit here and guarantee you. I can just guarantee you that again, I said there was some good, the bad, and the ugly. The ugly is if that mill goes away, you have a whole new set of problems. It's not a highway problem anymore. It's not a county road problem anymore. It's can you get a fire truck up and down a road because half your county's on fire? And so I think that becomes a very real and different problem if our wood basket is too populated.
And honestly, that's more of a forestry issue at that point, correct?
Well, your local fire departments would be involved.
Yeah, but when it gets to that point, we usually have to call forestry.
No, that's right.
So to me, there are 3 issues at hand. Number one, 2,000 annual cost. Can you absorb that in the budget? Number 2, personnel. We've not even asked. We know that the county is already shorthanded in some ways. So personnel-wise, Randy, I would appreciate a comment. And then 3rd is you said that the road would qualify for some state money if the chip and seal or if the pavement or whatever was to come into play. So if it qualifies for that money, then it seems like to me that now we're back to annual cost and employees. So that's really kind of where we need to settle in on this thing.
Can I throw one more thing in before? Is there any way that, because we don't know how long Green Bay Packing will be around, is there any clause that you can put in that, this is A, B way, I don't know, that the road doesn't have to be forever hours, that it's just hours until?
Well, if the new plant gets built, it's going to be forever. That new plant's not going to
years. That's going to be forever.
So our way out is if they don't raise the funds.
12 million.
Yeah, they have to get to, that's our way out.
That's the answer.
I mean, probably they wouldn't do it, and to Virgil's point, we wouldn't need to do it now, but hey, can we get that first chip and seal redo in this? I don't know that we can. And I am like, this is a hard one, because what Virgil said was all good stuff, all good points, and what Mike said was this is his district, all good. I mean, this is just a hard one, but I agree with everything that David just said, the 3 points, and would like to flush those out.
But is there a point where this mill is gonna to age out?
Not mine in your
In tech-
lifetime,
okay.
yeah. 'Cause, I mean, you're young, maybe in your lifetime, but
Yeah,
certainly
yeah.
not mine.
You never
I don't think any of y'all are gonna be taking votes on it, so, again, Green Bay has been a great county, state citizen for 60 years next year. The mill will be 60 years old next year. It's provided jobs, for, obviously Van Buren County residents for that long. And so, to your point, I think the out that the county has is if we don't raise the 12 million, then you don't have to take the road. But if we do, RDOT, so that's their expectation in order to move State Highway 113. Yes, ma'am.
In what I've heard, I have one big pull that's going to be for economic development in Arkansas. Okay?
Yes, ma'am.
And that's a biggie.
Yes, ma'am.
And then we got a road.
Yes, ma'am.
And this is a terrible question. What's in it for us?
Well, again, what's in it for you is your 58 county residents that have Green Bay land. I mean, that they will benefit. So that's 58 of your constituents, friends, neighbors, family members that are here. Your tax collections will go up. The 17 employees that live in this county will continue to keep jobs. And for 10 plus years, I mean, quite frankly, I think that there's going to be an economic boom on the same, probably not for Van Buren County at the same level as oil and gas, but certainly and Justice Bradford, I'll disagree a little bit with him. The data from Green Bay shows a 60-mile radius. That's where they stay. I think the advantage we have is those campgrounds are here already. They're not in Conway County today. Now will some be built closer? Sure they will, absolutely. But today, when those first trailers of welders and pipe fitters and boiler makers roll into Central Arkansas, we're going to have a leg up because those campsites are here already. And so, what's in it for Van Buren County? I think those are the things that are in it for us. And again, 1.7 miles of road with minimal maintenance. I was the road chairman in Faulkner County. I understand it. I promise you I do. That's not a big. It's a big ask for the county, but over the life of that, when the annual cost is probably just roughly over $2,000, and to your point, that's probably mowing, which they're probably figuring in payroll, and you got to do that. I mean, it's a cost. Fuel, it's a cost. It's a minimal cost compared to the benefit that the county's going to get.
I also agree with Nikki. If we get that road, I'd want it in pristine shape.
Yeah. I'm not here. I can't represent. I don't represent RDOT, so I just know that they've said that this is. We took it back after Judge James agreed that there's something that he would look at if the court agreed. So I went back and RDOT gave me a value for it, and there was no promise of anything beyond what it is today. So,
Mr. Good. Also, Green Bay having 31,000 acres in our county, they bring loggers and stuff in to do that. So there's a lot of other still benefits we're getting from people coming in here to help get the timber off and get it hauled to the mill.
yes.
So
Go back in economic development.
I'm going to tell you, I grew up in southeast Arkansas, and that is logging capital of our state. And so you have Potlatch, International Paper, Weyerhaeuser, Green Bay. I could go on and on. But those mills, if one of those mills shut down, when one of those shut down in southeast Arkansas, it was an economic disaster.
Yes.
And so it just cannot happen. I saw a town completely ruined because of a mill leaving, and just can't happen. Just all there is to it.
And Justice Holcomb, to that point, I mean, when you look at the industry today, more are closing than are opening, and so for Green Bay to be willing to make the kind of investment that they're willing to make, I applaud them, because when you look at their competition, like West Rock, not West Rock Coffee that we've just benefited from in Conway, but West Rock is the name of a mill. You see almost every 3 or 4 months where a West Rock mill is closing. And so again, for Green Bay to be willing to make this investment, it's a huge investment. And it's not just an investment in Conway County, it's an investment in the River Valley and in north central Arkansas, which is where we are.
Have they ever thought about investing in some county roads?
So again, I can't speak for them on that. I am representing them here tonight, but I will, no, I told Judge James and Randy before the meeting started, you know, I can tell you there's a county today where they are participating with the county on repairing a road. So yes,
I mean, because $2,000 to them would be,
I will tell you this, Green Bay's wanting willing partners, and the counties that dance with them, I think I can confidently say they're gonna dance back.
So look, I'm gonna tell you, if you can get $5,000 out of Klausmeyer for damaging the road for fiber optic, I promise you that Green Bay is a much more viable company than Klausmeyer.
Back to what Sarah asked me a few minutes ago about the state aid. The way that works, our county gets a little north of $200,000 a year in state aid money. And that can be spent on state aid roads. Roads that they have to be brought into the state aid system. And there are some qualifiers for them. And they can't be a dead end road. They have to connect back up to another road. There is a maximum number of miles that a county can put on state aid. I'm not sure how that's figured or what that is, and I think that was just increased at the legislative level. And then it's up to the county which road gets the attention or how we spend that money on which state aid road, whether we do a chip seal surface on it or whether we go and do an overlay or we do a bridge project. So that's how the state aid portion works.
Is this a dead-end road?
It is not. It connects back up to Resort Road. So that's why it would qualify for state aid.
It's got to come back in state road.
okay, can you say your 3 points again before I derailed them? Sorry.
Well, what if I can't remember? Can you absorb that in the budget? Personnel, and we already know it's state aid, so there's the third point answered. So we come to budget and we come to personnel. We could get that answer. Can you absorb the $2,000 a year in the road or whatever that you see that it's going to cost?
It's going to cost a little more than $2,000 a year.
Can you absorb that?
Mm-hmm.
Can the budget absorb that?
That is a loaded question. Because it's not just as easy as can we afford it.
Well,
It's-
this is.
do we have enough peanut butter to cover the bread is what we're asking.
Just to be clear, because Mike was pointing at me, and I totally understand. But there's general and then there's road. And they're two separate budgets. And I have to say that I'm only one person in the past in the budgeting process. We have treated those very separately.
Yeah, and I'm asking about the road budget, not county general.
So that kind of goes to that.
And to be 100% clear, the way that I was told by AAC, we have no power in governing those funds.
Well, you appropriate them, but after that, it's up to the judge.
Right.
And that's why I applaud the judge for including y'all in this, because quite frankly, with the stroke of a pen, he could have made the call. But he's asking for y'all's input, and I applaud him for doing that. He's willing to take it if y'all agree.
I'm going to put you on the hot seat. It's either yes or no. Can you answer that question, yes or no? I know it's a loaded question, and I know that's putting you in a bad spot, and I'm sorry to do that, but
No, you're fine.
I want to know, can it be absorbed into the county road budget?
It could. I'm not so sure it should.
Okay, fair. Personnel, Randy, can you address personnel that take care?
Hire a couple more people, but also with this freeze and fall that we've had in the last couple of years, it's really played a toll on our seal road. We've probably got $300,000 this year. We don't have money fixed.
Yeah, that's really, if this had happened 2 years ago, it'd probably be a different conversation.
Oh, yeah.
Part of Old Gin Road, it just crumbled.
Every seal road we've got, it's got places in it where it's froze and thawed. And when that happens, what water gets underneath it, that gravel will come up and turn loose. Then it's back to gravel. Then it's gonna make a pothole, a big pothole.
It's just hard for me to believe that if they don't get our $600,000 or whatever they're calling it, that they're not gonna open the mill. I mean, you got Conway County that's gonna take up the rest of it, as they were saying. And I just don't think that's something we need to take in. That's, with our roads the way they are, I just think we could do better on our roads.
Good,
in
right.
the States.
We have a duty to our people.
Let me tell you, if I were in the position of Faulkner County, I would have done it. Or Polk County. Polk County's getting a casino. Hopefully, eventually.
Maybe.
Maybe, maybe not. But, or a Buc-ee's or something. But they
Same thing.
same thing. It. I don't know. I wish we were better off financially, so this wouldn't be such a tough call.
But what we stand to gain financially, will that not cover it?
Well, that's
I mean,
that's
I know
to be
that there's-
determined. I mean,
right.
that's a projection, you know, and I mean, it's.
But all
I know
of it is a
that
projection.
it
We don't
is.
know if the road will be good from
Correct.
here till next century.
But
or
the disaster side of that
tomorrow,
weighs
but-
in there too. You
It
have
does.
to consider
Dear God, is that
what's gonna happen if that shuts down, you know,
Help
I
us
mean.
out.
Well, I mean,
We don't know what the weather's gonna
did
do.
we not develop a budget off of a projection?
Yes.
Okay.
That's right.
Yes, and I mean, Mary, to your point of economic development, when I saw this sheet, it changed a little, honestly, because I knew these names. I mean, you know what I'm saying? Not to be, you know, they're not my brothers or anything, but you know, you see who it got when I see this list. That puts economic development in a more personal realm.
Well,
We stretch the budget, you know, and it's a different budget, but, you know, I'm thinking about all that. I'm not familiar with timber and all that like you guys are, and hey, is this really a disaster? Not that you're, you know, I've never experienced it, never saw it. So I gotta say, this is a really hard one.
Well, economically, just speaking, up until last year, I was part of this leasing hunting land from Green Bay, 1,480 acres right here in Clinton. And Randy knows the land that I'm talking about because he was instrumental in getting me into that. And there are 10 members on that, and 2 of those members drive down here from Illinois to hunt here. And they only come here to turkey hunt. They stay in a hotel or a motel. They eat here. They drive down here from Illinois to come here to hunt, and they'll be here in a couple of weeks. So that side of it, that's a reality, and that is much larger than what you think it is. So just something that you own.
Yeah, and for myself, I mean, we grew up logging. That's all we've ever done. So for 60 years, we've been hauling to Green Bay. So I mean, our family has made, you know, bought and sold land because of what we could do with Green Bay. So I see the value of the footprint they have in our county and what they're doing as very instrumental for us.
We ready to call a vote?
No.
No.
Let's make sure everybody's had, anybody else have an opportunity, because, I mean, I just think this is a hard one.
It is. I agree with you, 100%.
Steve, would Green Bay be willing to go halves on resealing it for the first time?
again, I can't speak for them, Randy, on that. I know that, I like I told you and the judge before the meeting, I know that they are participating right now with A County on a road issue. And so, I will say this, for the record, this is not a quid pro quo, but if this passes tonight, that will be a call in the morning. If it doesn't pass tonight, obviously there's no need in making the call. So, all I can do, Randy, is call and make that request for you.
Randy, would that make a difference to you?
Do I?
Would that make a difference to you?
Yes. That would take right now you're looking at probably the last time it was sealed. I think it was sealed right before I left about 7 years ago. So you've got maybe 3 years left in the
So that
seal.
2,000 a year may not include, what I'm saying, that probably doesn't include that, would be higher. That's why, going back to 330, 336, I didn't know about the water lines, but hey, it may not be the exact time, but could we dance a little with, hey, this first time that it's gotta be redone,
You get it.
you get it, or we half it, I don't know. I mean, and I don't know, Dale, does that really make a difference or not?
I mean, if Green Bay, I mean, how bad do they want it? That's what, I mean, this is negotiation. Like, how bad do you want it? How big of a deal is it to you, you know?
Y'all want to take a 10-minute break? Or do you want to just?
It's going through.
Let's vote.
Let's vote.
You know, I'm all for Green Bay,
Well-
100%. They don't land all around.
The thing that leaves me unsettled is not taking care of what we have now. That's the only thing that I'm hung up on, because we have a duty to our constituents to take care of what we have now before we try to branch out to take care of anything else.
Has Conway County taken any in so far?
Yes, sir. They will take in, and I apologize. I just have Van Buren County notes in front of me. I apologize. But they will end up taking in the most miles of any county. Faulkner County right now has the most, but in the end, Judge Hart will take in the most. Yes, sir.
You had told me the other day Conway was taking in 3.
Conway County.
Conway County was
Yeah, I
taking
think that's what they've agreed to take in so far. But he's also, I think, agreed to take in something else that's going to join the Perry County one, if I'm not mistaken. Justice Page, I think that's right. And again, I apologize, I don't have those notes in front of me. Yes, ma'am.
You know, you can go back to that old saying that in a high tide, all boats.
All ships rise, yes, ma'am.
Yeah. And I really like the idea of the economic development in that. And it's, juggling them is difficult.
Oh, yes, ma'am. And again, I will say this. I drove your entire county. I went to places in Van Buren County I'd never been before, and which was good. But this was the only highway that I felt like would be a win for y'all to help be a partner in the economic development side and it not hurt your budget. And to your point, you know, it is you do have to take care of what you've got for your county residents, but part of taking care of them is not just roads, but it's other things as well, and it's jobs, it's economic development. You know, again, I've been here since 2013, and we have talked and talked and talked about what do we do to bring jobs here. This is an opportunity to bring jobs here, and it's going to happen if the mill goes forward, and if the mill doesn't, then it won't.
I have a question, because it's been, I think we all kind of agree if we could get this in Christine, and since we're dancing, could we amend this to be contingent on them agreeing to pay half of it the first time?
That would be something that I would absolutely.
Well, again, this is an RDOT resolution that I think y'all turned into an ordinance, Judge. So I'm not here, I can't negotiate on RDOT's behalf. So I wish I had that authority, but I don't.
What was your due date?
Well, we can come back and make another one and cancel it, so.
Yeah, it has to be, we have to have all signed agreements back to them by Monday the 8th, I think, because the bid letting is Wednesday the 10th.
So we would have to have.
So that's one of those,
So
y'all were
this
talking
is
about
it.
being shut down on the 8th.
We'd have to have.
So we can't do another one and cancel it before? Right.
You still have the contingency of the
Right.
of the money, so I
Right.
mean that.
Yeah, I will say that, if, in the event that the bid letting is not open, sure, we could come back with another offer. But again, it's my, full disclosure, I hope that we're opening bids. I hope we're opening a bunch of bids on the 10th, because if there's a bunch of bids, that means there's a bunch of hungry contractors, and maybe it's not as much as, it doesn't go over that $12 million like some people are anticipating that it might.
So can we rewrite this and say that, yeah, we'll go for it contingent upon whether if they'll take half and pass it like that. If they don't take half, then it's null and void.
You're not going to be able to get an answer from RDOT between now and then. I mean, so
Now and the
it's
8th?
well, I mean, we're not going to meet again to know whether they're going to answer.
That's what
or
I'm
not.
saying. Like, if they don't take it, then it's off the table.
If it were to be improved, it would be on Green Bay to improve it. It wouldn't be on RDOT.
Yes. And again,
That's why I feel like
the ask will be made in the morning if y'all, but again, I can't answer for them, Judge, and court. Please understand that, I can tell you what they're doing in another county today. that I'm very well aware of a help that's going on there today, but I can't speak for them on that. I'm not authorized to do that.
That's why when I asked if they had ever considered investing in county roads,
Sure, yeah.
that puts the pressure back on them. If they want their mill, give us what we want, we'll give you what you want. I like the
Part of my problem is the economic development or economic income or whatever is going to be here. It's going to be minimal.
Yeah.
In Conway County, it's going to be big. They're wanting us to take in 1.7 miles. So far, Conway County's got 3. I mean, it's really lopsided in my opinion. Our little mile and a half, almost 2 mile stretch of road is not going to, I don't think is going to keep this from opening if we don't do this. And right now, I don't think we need to take on any more on our roads than we already have. We saw that with this. I mean, it was a disaster. It was a simple freeze and thaw, and it turned into a disaster for our roads. And it's just something.
I will say this to that, 337 is still in good shape.
Yeah, that's still in good shape. But like I said, come June, it's going to be.
Well, the average traffic count there's 400 today. I mean, again, that's something else we looked at, and that's average. It's taken. So, sure, to your point, during the summertime, it's much more than
Right
it is
now,
this
there
time.
may be 50 a day,
Exactly.
40 a
Right,
day.
but how much work have they
And those are
done on this
residents.
since last June?
That I don't know. I just got a 5-year average.
So,
Yeah, yes, ma'am. Or the 5-year total, 5 and 6 year total. Excuse me.
I can honestly say that when I worked for them, I worked for them 35 years, we didn't do a whole lot of work with that road. It's pretty good shape, what it is.
Any more discussion? Y'all ready? Roll call vote.
Holcomb,
Yes.
Nikki,
Yes.
Sarah,
Yes.
Phillips,
Yes.
Mike,
No.
John,
Yes.
Paige,
Yes.
Lemmings,
Yes.
Bass.
Yes.
O 2024-11.
Judge.
Thank you very much.
We gotta do 3 readings on this, haven't we?
Is this the 3 reader?
We amended this one during the agenda. Justice Bradford, would you care to read our next ordinance by title only?
An ordinance to authorize the Van Buren County judge to enter into an agreement with the Arkansas Department of Transportation for the purpose of accepting State Highway 337, Section 1 in the Sugarloaf community into the county road system in exchange for an economic expansion project in Conway County, Arkansas.
You just read that one, and we voted on that one.
That's the one we just voted on.
Yeah.
I think John was saying it needed to be
Mike, I
read 3
said, you read
times.
the ordinances 3 times.
Oh, okay, so I'll entertain a motion to suspend the rules to, okay? A motion and a second to suspend the rules for the purpose of entertaining the second and third reading at this meeting. Any discussion? Roll call vote for suspension.
Holcomb,
Yes.
Nikki,
Yes.
Sarah,
Yes.
Phillips,
Yes.
Mike,
Yes.
John,
Yes.
Paige,
Yes.
Lemmings,
Yes.
Bass.
Okay. Justice Bradford, will you do reading number 2 by title only, please?
This one, okay. An ordinance to authorize the Van Buren County judge to enter into an agreement with the Arkansas Department of Transportation for the purpose of accepting State Highway 337, Section 1 into the Sugarloaf community into the county road system in exchange for an economic expansion project in Conway County, Arkansas.
Do I hear a motion to accept that as reading number 2? A motion and a second to accept that as reading number 2. Any discussion? All in favor of accepting that as reading number 2 signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Justice Bradford, please read it for the third and final time.
An ordinance to authorize the Van Buren County Judge to enter into an agreement with the Arkansas Department of Transportation for the purpose of accepting the State Highway 337, Section 1, into the Sugarloaf community, into the county road system, in exchange for an economic expansion project in Conway County, Arkansas.
Is there a motion to accept that as the third and final reading?
Second.
I have a motion and a second to accept that as third and final reading. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay, we've already cast the vote, so that will stand. Justice Mike Bradford, you have the next one by title only.
Be it enacted by the Quorum Court of the County of Van Buren, State of Arkansas, an appropriation ordinance to be entitled, an appropriation ordinance to amend the original appropriation ordinance O-2022-58, the annual operating budget for 2023, to increase the projected revenue and appropriate and transfer funds into the 2023 budget for final cleanup purposes. Move we accept this ordinance.
Have a motion and a second to adopt this ordinance. Any discussion? Roll call vote.
Holcomb.
Yes.
Nikki.
Yes.
Sarah.
Yes.
Phillips.
Yes.
Mike.
Yes.
John. Page.
Yes.
Lemmings.
Yes.
Bass.
Yes.
O 2024-12.
Okay. Having no transfers or any other business, do we have any public comments? Motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Any opposed?